Are you a classical musician who wants to play in worship but isn't sure where to start? Don't worry, you aren't alone. So many classical musicians want to play in worship, but they never do because they have no idea where to begin. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a recent video I posted of me playing a violin part to the song Jesus Paid It All. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link it here in case you want to go check it out. But today we'll be discussing a number of strategies and techniques I used in the song, as well as talking about why I made certain musical decisions. If you yourself are a classical musician who wants to get better at playing in worship, stick around because there are going to be a ton of insights for you. My name is Matt, and if you are new here, welcome. This channel is dedicated to helping classical musicians learn how to play their instruments in worship bands, worship in alignment with the Holy Spirit, and ultimately glorify God with their gifts. If that's you, we have a ton of great content for you on this channel, as well as amazing resources on our website, which is linked down below in the description. On that note, if you're new to worship music, check out the playlist that I have linked right here. It'll give you all the essentials you need to get started. Okay, we're about to get into the breakdown, but I do want to mention one more crucial thing first, and that's this. Please remember that this song is descriptive of what you could play in worship and not prescriptive for what you should play in worship. In other words, this is simply one example of what you could play. It isn't necessarily correct, though you will see in a little bit that I did have a lot of thought behind why I played things the way I did. But I myself would probably play it a little bit different every single time I played this song. Then add to that you have to consider band instrumentation, worship style, preferences, traditions, philosophies, what the Holy Spirit is doing in the moment. There are so many factors to consider. So there are an infinite number of different ways you could play this song. This is just one of them. With that said, if you're a worship musician yourself, please don't try to play this song exactly how I played it. Make it your own, and most importantly, listen to how the Holy Spirit is guiding your playing. And if you play an instrument other than violin, remember that there is still a ton you can take away from this video. A lot of what I play on violin can easily be applied to other melodic instruments as well, so just be thinking about that as you watch. All right, let's get into this breakdown. This is Jesus Paid It All. Okay, first things first, for an instrumental intro like this, sometimes I play and sometimes I don't. If it's a more up-tempo song with a full band, I'll probably start in, but if it's more of a stripped back feel to the start of a song, I'll feel it out. In this case, I hold off on playing until the start of verse 1 to give the electric guitar plenty of space for this lead line. Savior say, you'll see that at the beginning of the song, I keep what I play pretty simple. Then, as the song progresses, I'll gradually add more complexity. I'll play in the higher register of my instrument, and I'll add bigger dynamics. Right here specifically, though, is a great example of one of my favorite things to play for verse 1 of this type of worship song. And I call this the firm foundation note. Basically, it's a single note, and often the root note of the key that we're in, that we can hang out for pretty much the entirety of verse 1. So that note stays constant while other chords and notes are changing harmonically above it. This adds a really cool effect of rooting us musically, but it also is symbolic of how the Lord is our firm foundation. I also love how the firm foundation note is so simple, and it helps me stay out of the way musically, especially on a down verse like this one. Strength indeed is small, child of weakness, watch and pray, find in me thine all. As As we get into chorus 1 here, you'll see that I'm still keeping things pretty simple musically, and I'm also staying in the lower register of my instrument because there still isn't a lot going on musically in the rest of the band. However, you will hear me move off the firm foundation note and start branching out to other notes in the chords.
Jesus paid it all to him my own. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow.
Instrumentals like this can provide a fair bit of space, so they can be a good time for you to step in and do something a little bit more involved on your instrument. In this case though, I did opt to keep it pretty simple because again, the character of this song up to this point has been very simple and stripped back. Okay, verse 2 is where I start to increase dynamics, range, and complexity. This happens gradually as we're slowly building up to a bigger chorus 2.
Change the leper's spies and melt the heart of stone.
In chorus 2, I'm leaning more into musical complexity. I'm playing more notes, higher on my instrument, and I've added some fills in between the vocal lines. Hopefully you'll hear that these fills add energy and help keep the song moving towards the bridge. It is worth noting that I'm not giving everything dynamically yet because I am saving that dimension for chorus 3.
Jesus paid it all to him my own. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow.
Now we've arrived at what is technically verse 3 for the song, Jesus Paid It All, but we're treating it as a bridge just with the way that I arranged this song. What we have here is a down bridge where most of the instruments have dropped out entirely. So that gives us two choices. We can either stay in or drop out. Here, I choose to drop out because it helps it feel like a really tender, contemplative moment. I mean, the lyric is, "And when before the throne I stand in him complete." So we're ultimately talking about our own death here, so it's pretty important. If you do decide to stay in for a down bridge like this, just make sure you don't try to do too much musically and end up being a distraction. This can kind of be your time to shine. With most other instruments not playing, there can be a ton of space musically, but just make sure it's done tastefully. In this case though, I do drop out for part of the bridge. And while most of the instruments that drop out here stay out until the second time through the bridge, you'll hear me re-enter about halfway through the first bridge. I come back in on the lyric, "Jesus died my soul to save," to really emphasize that lyric and bring attention to it. Coming in at that point also gives me a lot of room to really help build the bridge, which again you'll hear me do by increasing dynamics, complexity, and playing higher on my instrument. Chorus 3 will be our big triumphant moment of the song, so we want to build to that by adding energy here in the bridge.
And before the throne I stand in him complete. Jesus died, my soul you saved. My lips shall still repeat. And when before the throne I stand in him complete. Jesus died, my soul to save. My lips shall still repeat.
Chorus 3 is where we're going to lean into the higher register of our instrument. This is the final big statement of the song, so we really want to make it soar. If you play an instrument that isn't as high as the violin, which frankly is most instruments, feel free to play to the strengths of your own instrument here. But for the violin, I like to use the higher register here to really float up above the melody. In a way, you could think of this as us reaching up towards God, or maybe even embodying his bigness or how high above us he is.
Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow.
Okay, this arrangement ends with a down chorus, which isn't super uncommon among contemporary worship songs. Similar to a down bridge, sometimes I'll stay in for a down chorus and sometimes I'll drop out. Dropping out can be really powerful, especially when everyone else drops out as well, and so it's just the voices of the congregation. This time, though, I think staying in does add a lot of tenderness, so I do stay in, but I try to keep things pretty simple so I don't distract or get in the way.
Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow.
And that brings us to the end of this breakdown. If you enjoyed this content and found it helpful, we'll be posting several videos in the coming weeks that go even deeper on some of the concepts we talked about today. So make sure you subscribe to know when those are released, and for those watching at a later time, I will link those right here. Additionally, feel free to like this video and comment something new that you learned or something that you want to learn. This will help us know how we can best serve you. All right, that's all for now. I hope this video blesses you and that it helps you use your gifts to glorify God. Thanks for watching.